Good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to the City Council meeting for September the 4th. And I'd like to, as we start every meeting, I'd like to ask everybody in the audience that can to stand as we start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. Did anybody sign up to speak?
No, sir.
All right, thank you. City boards and committee. Ms. Courtney? I'm sorry.
Welcome back, man. Welcome back, Lordship. Welcome back. Nice summer.
All right.
Long summer. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to do a certificate of appointment for Marion Thomas, who is being committed to become a member of the arts community.
Moved and seconded by Dr. Trout. Any question on the motion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Mr. Gardner.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I, too, would like to move for the appointment of Mr. Stephen Rehenberg. Okay. Pardon me, sir. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yes, I always like to get names correctly.
He's a Navy guy, right? Coast Guard. I remember.
Well, okay. Well, okay. To the advisory committee and the the environmental advisory committee and the green team committee.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Dr. Trout. Any question on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. If I could have both of you join us. Oh, I guess it is just you tonight.
All the way.
Okay. Come on up. How you tonight? Okay. All right, I'm going to ask you to raise your right hand, and after, when I come to the point, say aye, if you would follow with your name then. I
I, Stephen B. Wernberg,
do swear or affirm
do affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
and that I will be faithful
and I will be faithful
and bear true allegiance to the state of Maryland,
and bear true allegiance to the state of Maryland,
and support the Constitution and laws thereof,
and support the Constitution and laws thereof,
and that I will,
and that I will,
to the best of my skill and judgment,
to the best of my skill and judgment,
diligently and faithfully,
diligently and faithfully,
without partiality or prejudice,
without partiality or prejudice,
execute the office of
execute the office of
regular member of the Environmental Advisory Committee
regular member of the Environmental Advisory Committee,
according to the Constitution and laws of the state.
according to the Constitution and laws of the state.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Good to see you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Warenberg.
Mr. Warenberg. Congratulations.
Warenberg.
A lot of politicians who just really want to.
Warenberg. Okay. All right.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
We'll do the other one at another time. Okay. All right. Under council announcements, I just have one thing to Assistant City Manager. If you would pass on, this past Sunday was the last of our Sunday evening concerts, and on behalf of all of us up here, I want to congratulate the staff, the outdoor activities group. I forget the formal name of that group, but they put on a great last show. Bowie State University was there. It was that Honor America ceremony that we have.
Don't forget the Winstons.
They were there before.
I know that.
Yeah, but it was a great season, and I understand now we're going into great season .20, when we're going to start something up in Old Bowie on Saturdays. But it just brings the whole city together, and it's an evening of fun, and people get out there with their blankets and their kids and their puppies, and great evening of sodas and grapes and dogs. So if you'll convey our appreciation.
Very good.
to the
We'll
staff.
share that with the staff.
Sure.
Thank you, sir.
This is a question of staff. I was not aware of it, but my wife was aware of the fact that on Saturdays that there is some sort of a festivity out at Bowie Town Center. And we were out there a couple of Saturdays ago, and it was just nice. It was very nice. They had, band performers out there. It was absolutely, the remuneration was none, So it was a lovely affair. All you had to do is just bring a chair and sit on down and listen to the music. So can we get some advance notice on that?
Certainly, we'll work on that.
Thank you. I don't want my wife to keep telling me stuff that I don't know.
Sorry, Dr. Trout, that was a District 3 type of thing.
You had a choice of taking your daughter to a free concert or going downtown. Go to the free concert. I know how you are, Trout.
That's where she wanted to go.
City manager report?
Town staff is doing city staff is doing a great job for our residents. Don't have anything to report this evening.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, council, you have consent agenda items A through K. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved and seconded by? Mr. Gardner, second, okay. All right, you have a question?
Yeah, this is a very brief question. This question is to the clerk. Dear Ms. Clerk, under A, B, and D, and E, are we in compliance with everything that we're supposed to be doing as far as visual aids and stuff like that?
Yes, if you saw the memo, I believe Una Cooper, our communications manager, sent out an email in reference to being able to view the meetings now through a YouTube
Okay.
channel that has the closed captions
The
at the
closed
bottom.
caption, right, okay. All right,
Okay.
all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Okay. All right, old business, adoption ordinance 0718, Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This item is to update the Building and Property Maintenance Code to get some clarification in wording regarding illumination and sanitation services in our town code, city code.
Anybody sign up to speak?
No, sir.
Any questions of staff?
Real quick, Mr. Mears, thank you for filling in while our fearless leader is in Korea. It seems just from the motion that this was just a simple issue of making sure that our language is up to date. Was there a mitigating event that brought this to our attention?
I'm not familiar with one, but I can check to see if there was a mitigating event, but I'm personally not familiar.
Mitigating's the wrong word. I'm confusing my adjectives tonight, but you know what I meant. Thank you
Yes.
anyway. Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Any other questions of staff? Dr. Trout?
This is to the Assistant City Manager. Mr. Assistant City Manager, with regard to these changes in ordinance, the adoption of the ordinance, if we so do so, 07-18, does that put us in compliance with regard to what other jurisdictions are doing along these lines when we're talking about the housing codes? And
Melissa, would you have some familiarity in regards to that?
I do not, because in other jurisdictions, they frequently, not everywhere, but in many jurisdictions, they've adopted the International Property Maintenance Code, whereas here, many years ago, we created our own property maintenance standards, which I believe to be consistent with the IPMC, but they're not identical. So these changes were made at the request of your code enforcement staff. And to answer the previous question, I don't think there was a precipitating event particularly, but my understanding is that code enforcement staff felt that the existing language was not sufficiently specific for them to be clear about when they were citing individual properties for violations.
okay, so
But I don't believe it to be inconsistent, if that's an answer to your question.
okay.
It's just simply, it's not identical to the codes that many other jurisdictions use.
Do we, when we make changes like this, do we vent this with the county to see how far distant we are from our codes versus their codes?
We did not, no.
Okay. Should we be doing that?
That is a direction we can give to your code enforcement staff if you believe that would be an important step to undertake, yeah.
Just as long as we don't have any conflicts, because I know there was a conflict when we were talking about this. I know it's a separate issue, but it was you know what I'm going to say. It was regarding, okay, Airbnb, properties like that, and the county didn't have have a specific ordinance, and the county was getting ready to put an ordinance together, so we wanted to make sure that if we were doing something, that our ordinance would be in concert with the counties and wouldn't be.
And with that particular issue, that relates to land use issue, which those are things that defer directly to the county in that regard. In property maintenance, we don't look to the county's property maintenance standards. We look just to the city of Bowie's.
My recollection is that the Airbnb issue was, in fact, a zoning issue. I may be misrecalling, but I think when we looked into that, was the bill that was being proposed was a change to their land use code.
Okay, all right, thank you.
And actually, if I can, Mr. Mayor.
Any other questions? Oh, Mr. Seff?
Actually, just to address what Councilman Dr. Trout brought up with regards to Airbnb. My colleague, Dufour Wolfley, and I had a meeting with constituents in his and my district recently about county-related issues pertaining to dwelling concerns in general. And the councilman and I are going to be working with staff on putting together kind of a list of available resources for residents to know where to go exactly if they're having a particular dwelling concern, whether it's Airbnb or, you know, an improper use of a property. And that's actually a conversation I'd like to continue with all my colleagues, because I think that could be really helpful in hitting a whole lot of flies with one swatter.
I think that's a good initiative. In fact, I'd like to be involved with it. I'd also like to have the chair and the vice chair of the Prince George's County Council, specifically, obviously the vice chair, because the vice chair is our representative for our area, whereas
right.
the chair is not.
Right.
But the chair and the vice chair, they do work in concert with one another. So,
Gotcha.
and I do know that the vice chair is interested in this particular aspect.
Cool. Thank you, Dr. Trout.
Well done. Any other questions? All right, you have a recommendation to adopt 0718. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Gardner, second by Mr. Estav. Any question on the motion? All in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. Mr. Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to have a motion to move into a closed.
Make a motion.
I'd like to make a motion, pardon me, to move to a closed session.
Second.
To consult with counsel to obtain legal advice on a legal matter.
Moved and second by Dr. Trout. Any question on the motion? All in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. Good night, folks. We're going to go into an executive session.
What time is it?
8:15.